Chapter 3. Japan's body was gone, but his blood was still all over the walls and floor. I felt sick, wondering if the monster had come back and eaten him. China and Russia were there, probably having come from the fourth floor. They stared blankly at the scene, and I wondered if China knew. "What do we do now?" Russia asked. "We move on. No point to dwell on it," China said. "But who?" "It doesn't matter," China snapped. He didn't stop staring at the blood. The gaps in red formed a familiar shape. How long do you plan to stand there?" His voice was heavy and betrayed everything he was feeling right then. "I'm sorry, but I couldn't even look at him." His eyes landed on the sword at my side and his expression shifted. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. Clearly there's nothing you could have done." Risha looked at me. "Why are you alone? Did you find anybody else?" I explained my situation to them, and they followed me downstairs. I thought we would walk back to find Prussia and France still arguing, but instead the monster was back and rapidly closing in on them. They were unarmed and so small compared to the beast. If anybody didn't intervene, they would surely lose their lives. Shakily, I grabbed the sword at my side, only to have it snatched out of my hands by China. "Babies shouldn't play with swords," he said. "I'll get my revenge on this monster." I could imagine how he must feel. I didn't want to. The feeling of losing somebody you cared so much about, having such a strong bond broken in a matter of seconds. It must have been awful. China charged at the beast, sword raised and tears in the back of his eyes, which refused to fall in sadness, but just might be shed in anger. He stabbed the weapon into its back, causing it to let out that same ungodly sound as before. It swiped out in front of it almost blindly, its large hands bringing down both France and Prussia. Neither one of them looked injured, and China didn't look like he would stop soon. He dragged the sword from the monster's back and stabbed it again, careless to the amount of black sludge falling onto him and the surrounding carpet. The monster's roar drowned out China's angry screams. Russia brushed past me with a smile, his eyes nearly closed. He wasn't deterred by the shedding of skin and blood from the monster. He shifted past and grabbed both Prussia and France by their collars and tossed them over to me. "It's best you leave now, yes?" he said. "We can handle this, so take care of Italy." Prussia and France nodded and scrabbled to their feet. I was surprised Prussia didn't let out a spiel about how he was too awesome to need saving. Nearly dying must have opened his eyes. He and France each grabbed one of my arms and proceeded to drag me away from the scene, kicking and screaming, because as we rounded a corner, the monster turned and swiped its claws clean through China's chest. His blood splattered against the stairs as we ran past. He dragged me through the main corridor and to the right. There was only one door there. We went through it, and Prussia locked the door behind us. This room had 2 beds, a dresser, and a closet in the far wall. Franz collapsed on one of the beds, spreading his arms out and taking a deep, long-suffering breath. "Going to the haunted mansion, they said," he muttered. "It'll be fun, they said. Well, so far this hasn't been very fun." "No kidding," Prussia said. He slumped down on the opposite bed. "This has been totally awesome." I settled for sitting on the floor, directly facing the door. I wrapped my arms around my legs and rested my chin against my knees. "Yeah, well, you weren't even supposed to come here, so quit it with your complaining. How were you supposed to know you were serious? We thought you were trying to trick us and all. And for all I know, you still are." I curled further into myself. I couldn't listen to them arguing anymore, knowing what was happening just outside the door. My shoulder didn't hurt, but it wasn't getting better either. It was almost like we were no longer nations in the building. But that wasn't possible. It couldn't be. A sound came from the closet behind me, and neither Prussia nor France seemed to notice. If I told them and there was another monster in there, then I would be responsible for yet another death. So I didn't tell them. I got to my feet and tried the door myself. It was locked, so probably not a monster. I tapped lightly on the door. "Hello, is anybody in there?" I asked quietly. "It's okay to come out. There are no big scary monsters in here." The door started to creak open, and I passed her on a smile to hopefully comfort whoever was there. Precious stepped forward and pulled me away, standing in my place. It could be dangerous, he said. It's awesome me handle this. The door opened fully and I was surprised to see Germany step out, looking somewhat embarrassed. Wes, you're alive! Prussia exclaimed. He wrapped Germany in a bear hug, earning an uncomfortable expression that would make Japan proud. Oh, Japan. I pushed against my cheeks to make sure the smile was still there. Germany! I cried. I joined in their hug and hoped neither of them noticed my delay. Unfortunately, I was still covered in blood and it turned everything into a mess. Italy! Is that? Germany asked. He looked a little green. Blood? Oh, gross, he's gonna barf! Prussia exclaimed. He didn't seem to find it gross at all and actually started laughing. Come on, Wes, in the closet, not on the rug. Oh, that's gross. He rubbed Germany's back as he emptied his stomach in the closet. Just the sound of it made me want to throw up as well. Can you not wait until tomorrow to be completely disgusting? France asked. Or this will be getting out of here. If we ever do, Germany said gloomily, wiping his mouth. Of course we will, we just got to stay positive, I exclaimed. We should pull our information and think of a way out. Prussia nodded and Germany looked unsure. Italy, are you feeling okay? He asked. I feel fine. The monster barely got its teeth into me before, but I couldn't say the rest. You're trying it, huh? Germany asked. All your training is finally catching up to you. Yeah. We sat down to share information. Prussia and France sat on the bed and kept arguing only to be silenced by Germany, though they still kicked each other from time to time. Germany sat beside me. France hadn't found a single thing, helpful as he was, and Prussia and I hadn't found anything new. We shared the key we'd found in the 2 rooms we'd already searched before Germany revealed he also had found a key. There's a tiny metal L on it, Prussia noted. Did you notice a room with an L anywhere? No, but it could also stand for a library or a laundry. Of course, and the laundry rooms are typical on the first floor, right? Prussia stood up and held the key above his head. So that's where it will go. Wait. Is it even safe out there? France asked. I want to get out as much as you do, but I'd rather leave it with all of my limbs attached. I can check, I suggested. Prussia automatically shut me down. Don't be silly, Itza. Wes will do it. What? Why me? Because you're the biggest. Prussia pushed Germany over to the door and whispered something to him before pulling it open. Germany looked back at me, a small blush on his face before he walked out into the hall. I held my breath and waited for the worst, but nothing happened. I held my breath and waited for the worst, but nothing happened. Alright, it's safe, Prussia cheered. Your face probably scares it off. I'm sure I heard Germany mutter. No, that's just hurtful. France insisted on going ahead of me, and I watched him stumble down the dark stairs. Once they were out of sight, I rushed down the center corridor and back to where I had last seen the monster. My stomach flipped when I saw the hole. It was now covered in red. The monster was gone, and in its wake it had left a massacre. There was blood everywhere. I had to watch my steps so as to not tread on things that should never be outside of the body. China and Russia were leaning against the far wall. China's head was facing down, and his eyes were closed. His hands were open. The hilt of Japan's sword resting against his outstretched fingers, and his other hand covering a gaping chest wound. My entire body was trembling. I fell to my knees. Tears were back, and I sobbed into my hands. I wasn't sure how to feel or what I was supposed to do. There must have been a way to bring them back. He went quickly. Russia's voice startled me, and I fell backwards with a small scream. Blood soaking the carpet was so thick, I almost couldn't pull my hands out. That is good, yes. You did not suffer for long, but it also means that I'm all alone again. Russia smiled at me sadly. You're not alone. I'm here. Russia and Germany and France too. My eyes stung and blurred when I saw the large wounds Russia had sustained. Too bad. We were just starting to see eye to eye. If I make it any kind of heaven, then perhaps we'll meet again. You're not going to heaven. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going to let another one slip away, I cried. Russia let out a small laugh. It was Japan before, wasn't it? He asked. I'd hate to think this fight was in vain. No, it wasn't. I cried. Japan is still alive. You wasted this fight, so get up and fight another one. It's time to win. You hear me, China? Wake up! I shook China's shoulder. His body fell further against the wall and crumpled onto the floor. Russia patted my head and took in a lethargic breath. You were never good at the lying, he said. What else am I supposed to do? The truth only leads to people getting hurt. I've always said so myself, but the lying hurts everybody in the end. Russia replied. It might not be much, but we found something on the third floor. He held out a shaking hand and pressed a misshapen piece of metal into my palm. This is useless, I said. You'll have to come with me instead if you don't want me to get hurt. He ignored me. Take Japan's sword with you. The others may have thought to bring weapons. I was reluctant to take it. I thought China might come back to life and snatch it out of my hands again, just to keep some part of Japan's presence with him. But he didn't. Italy? Hey, what are you doing here? My entire body stiffened hearing America's voice. I'd almost forgotten there were other nations in the mansion. What is all of this? America continued. Russia, are you gonna be alright? Russia coughed into his hand and said, I'm afraid it's not looking so good. The sound of America's footsteps stopped. Oh, he said, but you were... What's going on? Is this not some sick prank you guys are playing on me? I asked. Is this not all fake blood and terrible acting? It is, isn't it? I looked back to America hopefully, but his eyes were focused on Russia, and he was coming forward again, his shoes sending drops of blood splashing into the air and onto his pants. He bent down low and put his arms around me, lifting me up. Put me down! I exclaimed, alarmed. Put me down, America! We have to do something! America wouldn't look at me, and he wouldn't look back. There was no room for words, no room to go back.